And good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are around the world. I'm Marcus Holmes, the HR Passion Guy, and it's Passion Fridays, another installment of Passion Fridays with a boost for you. We love bringing passionate topics, passionate people who are at the intersection of their passion and purpose, and topics that we believe that you can use to help you be greater employees, greater humans, greater leaders, greater organizations. And so we have one such topic today. But before we queue up that topic, I hope that wherever you are around the world, that you will drop in the comments where you are and what the temperature is like on this April 9th, 2021. Where are you around the world? Well, I am in Northwest Detroit, and it started off in the 50s and it's climbing. We had lots of rain yesterday, and I know my grass is happy for that. I haven't gotten out to do a bike ride just yet, but I'm looking forward to the sunny, wonderful weather here in the Detroit area. Where are you? Drop in the comments where you are and what is the temperature like where you are. Do you appreciate it? Are you grateful for being alive today? You know, when I said that word grateful, I felt a rush of energy. I believe that my brain has caught on that I like this craving to be satisfied around feeling great. And so that gratefulness moment was great for me because today is an important day in my journey. It is my mother's birthday. I don't know if anybody is like me, but my mother was my first girlfriend, and the absolute love of my life. And so I am grateful for her and the lessons that she taught me. And I just had a rush of gratefulness. And I love that feeling. And I want you to have that feeling by joining us on the Gratefulness Challenge every day. It's a Tuesday through Saturday challenge. We'd love to have you join us on that challenge. So just hello to you on Facebook. I see that there are some folks there, Annette Green, Marilyn Hamilton, Nelson. I see some folks on LinkedIn, but you haven't quite dropped in the comments your name so that I'll know that you're tracking with me. And those of you that may be on the Love and Stuff page or maybe on YouTube events or Twitch TV, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you may be around the world. If you'll just drop in the comments where you are, it will populate here on Restream so that I can see all of your comments and your presence, which is so valued by me. I wanted to share a couple quick announcements with you. Thank you so much for that happy birthday shout out for my mom, Princess Irene Holmes. Thank you so much. What a stately princess she was. I know that the world is mourning the passing of Prince William, did I say his name right? The husband of the Queen. Maybe it's Prince Edward, the prince who passed away today at 99. God bless that wonderful, long-lived life. I understand having royalty in your family. I had a princess, and I can tell you it was a royal journey with her. And now I'm the son of Princess, Prince of Herbert, and so that wonderful legacy. Vicky Johnson Williams is from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Drop in that comment, Vicky. What is the weather like where you are? We also want to get a sense of what's that weather like. It's going, I think, toward the 70s today, even though we had plenty of rain last night, which made for amazing sleep. But we're going to the 70s. I'm going to try to get a bike ride. Every day it's above 65. I'm going to get a bike ride, of course, until it starts to get into the summer. And I'll make sure I get that bike ride before it gets to the 80s and 90s in case we have a warm summer like we traditionally do in this area. What's the temperature like where you are so we can track with you and get a sense of what that weather is like? And did you take a good time this morning to take a deep breath to center yourself so that you are awakened to gratefulness this morning? I hope you will join us on the Gratefulness Challenge. So before we queue up this information that I want to share with you, whether you're a leader in an organization, whether you're an employee in an organization, or whether you are an owner of an organization, I think this information will be information that you can use. And so it will help you in what I will say are crucial conversations that you should be having with your employees. But before we do that, I want to share my screen because there are a few things that I want to share with you for those of you, especially that are in the Detroit area. I want to see if I can find it to share it with you. Let's make sure I can find it. All right, where are we at? Just to share some information with you. Let's see if it'll let me share it. All right, it's 72 degrees. That's good walking weather and biking weather here. I don't know about, what it's like there, but it's great biking weather. All right, I see I'm going to share it. Fantastic. And so I'm sharing for those of you that are in the Metro Detroit area. Let's see if I can give it a full screen view. All right, there it is, full of screen. If you love outdoors, if you love to beautify, one of the visions of the leadership here in the Detroit area is to make the landscape and area more beautiful than it was the year before. If that is something that resonates with you and you're looking for some seasonal work, you should join us for the city of Detroit, which is a great place to work. In this seasonal opportunity, join our team. Here are a couple pictures there of our fine civil servants for the City of Detroit's General Services Department. There are available positions, and you can go to www.detroitmi.gov/employment. These are seasonal opportunities, from driving to working on crews. If you love working with people and you love to beautify, you should apply for that position if you're in the Detroit area. And we also are looking for, among other positions, a great policy analyst. If you love writing and you are very good at writing, and you're the kind of person that can take legislation or regulations and put them in simple terms for employees and leaders to be able to use and abide by, we're looking for you. And you can also apply at www.detroitmi.gov/employment and tell them the HR Passion Guy sent you. Be sure to tell them that the HR Passion Guy sent you, and hopefully you will align with an outstanding, wonderful organization committed to public service. We love to see you there. And if those of you that are in the communities have positions for which you are looking for people, shoot that information to me via inbox, and I'll be happy to share it here on this platform. So take a few moments, just whichever platform you are on, whether you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch TV, or YouTube events, click share right now, because we're getting ready to go into the information that I want to share with you, and that I hope that you will share with others around something that I think will be very, very useful for you. And if you're interested in having a free document, you'll be able to inbox me to get it, and we'll continue to share that information with you, okay? But we're going to give an overview and highlights of that information here. So I want to give you a moment to click share to invite someone to join us. And while you're doing that, I am just going to quickly share with you, I have a brand new book. It is called The Gratefulness Journey Every Day. What are you doing in the next 30 days to transform your life? It is available now on Amazon via ebook or paperback, whichever is your choice. I think it has about 4.6 out of 5 stars, so I think that's fairly decent. And I hope that you will read it. It emerges from my personal journey through loss and grief and situations that I experienced, and how I am on a journey and have been powered, catapulted forward in my living for grateful living. Get your copy today of The Gratefulness Journey every day if you haven't already. And if you have, be sure to go to Amazon and leave us a review and let us know how the book has been powerful for you. You know, some of the comments that I've gotten back, some people have put them in inbox, some people have put them via text or via email, and I appreciate all of them. But the reviews on Amazon really are gold, and it helps other readers to learn a little bit about your experience and helps me as a new author because, hey, they don't know who I am. And so it helps them to make a decision relative to purchasing the book. So I am very honored that many of you are enjoying the book and have rated it well and are getting from the book what I had hoped: more grateful living. And I hope it for everybody in the world. It will change your life. And it is powerful to utilize to reframe your current experiences. It does not change your current experiences, but it changes how you handle them. And so I am very pleased and privileged and honored and would be so amazingly blessed if you purchased the book and shared it with someone else. You might include it as a part of your reading clubs. We will certainly have an online offering course coming where you can delve more deeply into modules for the purpose of you having more grateful living. So I hope that you will join us in that. All right. So have you ever needed to have a crucial conversation with an employee? Whether you are the owner, you are a leader, or maybe it is you're the leader in an organization where there are volunteers and you needed to have a crucial conversation with employees. Give me a like or love. Give me a like or love if that's you. You've ever needed to have a crucial conversation with an employee. And when I am talking about crucial conversation, it's about the employee's behavior, performance, how the employee shows up, their attitude and motivations relative to how they bring themselves, his or her authentic self, to work. Give me some likes or loves if that is you. I have something for you that I want you to consider before you get down the track of disciplinary action, right? Because we might take corrective action with employees for their performance or lack thereof, right? But I want you to consider this as a crucial conversation before you get to discipline, before you get to a performance improvement plan. And I think it has the potential to shift how that employee moves forward in performing his or her best for the organization. I used to hear very early on, probably close to 25 years ago. I know you can't believe it. I look 25. I got it. But close to 25 years ago in personnel, they used to say that you inspect what you expect. And many people still today live by that. And I don't totally disagree with that. But I really believe that you should expect what you demand. And you should demand excellence so that your employees inspect the work that they provide for you or for customers. So you lead a little closer to the edges and allow employees, build in a system where employees are inspecting their work, where they are looking at their work according to a standard, their behaviors according to your core values. And then you take on the role of coach and or mentor, which we'll talk about in a little bit, to help them meet the expectations of excellence. And the way you demand that is that you set that baseline and you always have discussions that bring awareness around what you expect, not what you're inspecting. And there, of course, are quality standards in organizations where you have quality control persons, where you have supervisors who literally inspect the work. But if you can inspire people to excellence, then they will inspect their work because they'll take pride in it, and you can expect excellence. And that is kind of the thought I want you to have going into this. And so what I've done is in and around employment law, there are these 7 standards of just cause, or 7 tests of just cause, that people utilize to determine whether or not the discipline that you mete out to an employee was appropriate. So when I have in past roles advised departments and leaders about meting out discipline, does it pass this litmus test, if you will, of 7 things? Well, I've taken these 7 things that I've trained on. I can't even count the number. I was trying to figure out how many trainings have I conducted, and how many supervisors and managers and leaders and directors of departments have I trained on these 7 standards, these 7 tests of just cause. Now, then when I first started training, it was resultant of too many grievances or too many arbitrations that we were losing, right? And so as a human resources professional, I determined that there needed to be an in-servicing or a training relative to getting people to really make sure that they had their ducks in a row when it came to disciplining employees, right? And so I spent many sessions, and people that know me will say, oh yeah, I remember some of the things, because I spent many sessions and built curated training, designed a curriculum or a program for people to be able to improve how they meted out discipline, right? I took those 7 standards of just cause, and looking through the lenses of employee behavior around the job context, coaching and mentoring, I've decided that you can use it to start crucial conversations that both provide some documentation in your supervisory notes and help the employee be able to be vulnerable and transparent with you, to create an environment where employees are able to self-correct and explore their own mistakes to improve their behaviors and or performance. I said on a recent small snippet of a video, I said, if you want to have a robust performance conversation with your supervisor, manager, or leader, then go in that meeting and say, hey, I want to talk a little bit about performance, but first, I want to describe my authentic self to you, who I am every day at my core. And then I want you to tell me whether or not this is what I'm consistently showing up for every day with. And it gives the space for your leader to say, wow, I didn't look at it that way. You say that you are a easy person to get along with and you like the compromise, but when you show up at work, you do this on the team. It gives them the opportunity to reflect back to you how who you say you are might land or show up differently, so that you can begin to have a transparent and vulnerable conversation. So for employees out there, I challenge you, don't wait until it's the performance evaluation time. Don't wait until it's review of your individual development plan. Schedule some time with your leader and say, hey, let's hop on a Zoom. I want to ask you a few questions, and say, this is who I am. Am I showing up this way consistently for you every day? It'll open up a crucial conversation that you should be having about how are you landing on others. And they may even share with you, hey, I got this observation from so-and-so that is kind of conflicting with what you say you are. You might get a chance to have a conversation with so-and-so to improve that relationship, because oftentimes we think we're showing up one way and we may be showing up a very different way. So I constructed these 7 steps to a crucial conversation, which if you're interested in having the document, you inbox me and I will provide the document. Today, I'm providing an overview, right? So, and it will be free to you, free document to you, but you'll have to inbox me to get it. And I will provide it to you for your usage, free content, right? And so I am excited at the opportunity to provide this content, because I think it can be a game changer as you move along your journey of conversations, because it requires some transparency and vulnerability on both sides. And so I think it's very important. Now, I have to give a few caveats to this. Number one, even if you're in an at-will state, right? You work at a company that is at will, or you work in a state that is at will. The position is at will. You can leave at any time. They can leave. It's not an employment contract. There's no implied contract. I am not an attorney. Even if it feels like I'm lawyering, I'm not an attorney in any state. But what I will tell you about this theory of implied contract, when you are making, as an employer or leader, a decision to separate that is based on performance, you do open yourself up to a little bit more than at-will employment. Okay? So when you're saying, I'm separating you because of a lack of performance, there is the potential that that employee can raise a concern as to whether or not that separation would have occurred if they weren't in a protected class, or if that separation would have occurred for some other set of reasons. So you have to consider that even if your state is at will. When you're making a decision to let somebody go based on performance, this method that I'm providing you would be good for you to do long before. So this is not for someone who wants to separate someone who has egregious performance. They have stolen from the company. There was a workplace violence incident. Those are things that are typically egregious enough to separate someone from your organization. Not in that. That's not what this is for. And it's not for you to build necessarily progressive discipline. It's for you to flip it, because many organizations have invested a lot of time in their employees. You invested talent acquisition time in building robust job specs and job descriptions. You have spent time interviewing candidates and spending money on advertising and branding. You have spent money and time on interviewing. You have spent time on learning and development and stretch opportunities that you've invested in an employee. So it would be in this market to your advantage to hold on to good employees, or employees that you put a great investment where you don't feel like you've gotten the return on investment, and a few adjustments might help that employee. That is what this is for. This is for that opportunity. And we're looking at the 7 test or standards of just cause, and we're going to use them slightly different to kind of create a coaching environment and culture with your employee and or team. So that's the thought behind it. It's not, if you think this is an at-will, the purest at-will employment is not based on performance. I know there are lawyers and precedents that might argue either way, but you don't base at will on performance. And you don't base it on cultural fit, especially if you have not drilled down to have real evidence to what cultural fit means for your organization. All right. It is a restructuring. It is a change in direction in the company. It is, you've automated some processes and you don't need that position. It's a reduction in force that's related to a lack of funds or a lack of work. You're getting out of the business of a specific area. All of those would be great for an at-will. But when you say at-will and you say, I'm just going to let you go, but the underlying cause is really performance or behavior, you open yourself to the possibility that that at-will will be challenged. That action to separate will be challenged. And it could be successfully challenged, as I've seen not only in the public sector, but I've seen in private sector where people made that choice. So I'm going to share my screen, and I want to share this information with you. And again, if you're interested in this for your own usage, let's see, let me make sure I can bring it up. I didn't see it come up. One moment. All right, let's get it there. You can inbox me if you'd like to have what I will provide you a template for these crucial conversations, because the crucial conversation questions, I'm going to talk you through them, but I don't provide them here. Okay. So again, it's a 7-step crucial conversation. There are many things out there, many readings out there that you can look at that will talk to you about crucial conversations and that will share with you about radical candor. As a matter of fact, Kim Scott has a book on radical candor. You might invest some time in that. So we talk and have talked a little bit about competencies before, and really just broadly, I won't go into a lot of the theory around this, but it's the ability or capability to do or to possess the capacity for. All right. And so I only raise it here because of the work of David McClellan, who has some groundbreaking work from a 1973 article, and it's still relevant today. I want to talk to you a little bit about competency characteristics because this is a part of the information that I want you to use to wrap into that conversation, specifically motives, traits, and self-concept. You will notice that there are two other competency characteristics that are mentioned here, knowledge and skills. I don't address those because typically knowledge and skills are things you assess when you hire an employee, and they do either know how to do those things or they don't. They either have those skills or they don't, and you are either committed to learning and development opportunities to provide them knowledge and skills, or you're not. So if you're investing in L&D, it handles those two, right? I want to talk to you a little bit about the motives, right? Because in the job context, per McClellan, excuse me, core motives are really around three: around achievement, around affiliation, and around power. Typically, your employees are motivated to do work. Their motives underneath the work that they do and the way in which they approach work are traced back to achievement, where a person likes to achieve a goal. Okay, they take satisfaction in finding and meeting challenges, and that gives them satisfaction. It's around affiliation. They like to be part of a group or relating to people. Or power, status, or structure or influence are important to them. So I stop there because this is an important part of the concept for employees to leaders, owners to understand, because the motives that support how your employee navigates in your organization can almost always be tracked back to those three. So when you are having a crucial conversation, one, you need to know the employee, right? And you need to know whether they are motivated. What's their motives? Is their motive based on being part of the group and belonging? And belonging is important to that employee. It better be important to you to include it in a crucial conversation. Okay. And you may even affirm that employee to say, I believe you belong here. Okay. I believe that you fit here. I believe you make a valuable contribution to our team. Our team is better because you are on it. Okay. Because now you're speaking the language that is central to the motive that that person navigates and operates in. Okay. It will be the same for achievement. I know how important it is to you to make deadlines. I know how important it is for you to take on a challenge and do it well, right? You have to connect with those motives of the individual. And if it's status, I know how important your position is to you. I know that you've worked hard to get to the level that you're at. I appreciate all of your knowledge and education and expertise. Those things are important to a person where power is important to them. And it should be a part of the crucial conversation that you're having with that employee. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen on this item to make sure that, yep, all right, fantastic. So that is how I want you to develop those conversations. You're also going to talk about the traits, right? If that person has a lot of grit, they can handle rugged situations, or they're very curious. These are some of those that are listed that you want to make sure you're identifying and affirming those things in a crucial conversation with them. Okay. And then you will talk to them about their concept of self as a part of this crucial conversation. All right. And again, this is the high level overview and not the actual document, which if you want it, you will certainly inbox me for. Okay. So in 1964, there was an arbiter, Carol Doherty, who established a single standard to determine if the discipline or discharge of an employee can be upheld as a just cause action. So that's kind of where these 7 standards of just cause come from. Okay. And really, I wanted to flip it so that before you get to a performance improvement discussion, before you get to disciplinary action, that you have a coaching and mentoring conversation or set of conversations that would not go into the employee's file. They go into your supervisory notes, right? And you take on the role, which you are already coach, but you take on this blended role of coach and mentor. And it's essentially a conversation, right? Or a series of conversations. It's about learning and not so much teaching, right? Though you're going to help to facilitate the learning and with a little bit of hybrid and mentor, some exploration, right? It's more about providing the right questions than answers. It's about change and transformation. It's about allowing the space for somebody to reinvent themselves or their actions. And it also incorporates operating on an emotional plane. Okay. And so there are some differences. Traditionally, a mentor is not a formalized structure of hierarchy. A lot of times it's someone that's an advisory role, right? Who focuses more on the individual. But in this, I want you to do a hybrid of the individual and performance, right? There's typically not an agenda, but you're facilitating these discussions of exploration with the employee rather than specific agenda. You did this on this day and you did this on this day. You kind of need to have some patterns of behavior before you have a crucial conversation. Now, many employees' direct reports would say that they look to their leaders as mentors, but some do not. And so in this regard, you're kind of offering to be a mentor for someone where you're really a leader for them, because your leader comes with your job, right? You're the head of the division, you're the head of the team. But now you're going to give them the opportunity to lean into you for some of your expertise. And it's going to be based on the value that they perceive rather than your position. So you're going to leave your position at the door and act more as an advisor in this role so that they perceive more value to their voice, that you're elevating their voice. You're going to incorporate learning aspects and affirmation. You might reference teamwork and performance. That's where it'll be a hybrid. And this will also be a hybrid for the arena because it will incorporate both life and things that are task related. So it's kind of a hybrid between the two. And a coach is typically visible, right? Your coach is in your face, a mentor, maybe not as much. Sometimes coaches and or mentors can be invisible partners, but oftentimes coaches are drawn from outside the organization and there is some confidentiality to the level of support in that. Okay. And coaching's about partnering. It's about creating a thought-provoking and creative process to inspire someone to personal and professional potential and the maximization of that potential, right? You got to build a strong, resilient relationship because there's back and forth in it, and it needs to be a safe space. And the coach is a listener. So what I've done in these steps, I've taken these 7 steps, these 7 just cause tests and made them into 7 steps. What you're seeing here is that I am listing the questions that are typically questions you would ask to ensure that the discipline is appropriate. But when you send me your request for the document, I will have questions that you will use to have a discussion about the crucial conversation that you would have long before discipline is ever the consideration. So you have to, in your mind, be committed as a leader, as a manager, as a supervisor, that this conversation is not around discipline. This conversation is around getting the best out of your employee and awakening their awareness to their performance and how they show up authentically every day. You got to get that, or this will not work for that purpose. Okay. So in step one, you level set and you ask what's reasonable about what the employee understands about how we work and how we show up every day. And I always say the best way to start with step one, when you are level setting, you want to control the frame in this way. You want to become vulnerable to the employee. You want to become transparent to the employee, and not at first about the employee, but about you. Start with a story, a situation where you failed at something. It doesn't need to be and probably shouldn't be the exact same thing you want to talk to them about, the pattern of behavior that they're now starting to express or starting to demonstrate. You want to pull something from your personal situation, that your personal journey that was an admitted failure or lack of performance to you. So you might say, I remember a time that I planned a project and I failed miserably. I was over budget. I under delivered the final product. My customer wasn't happy. And I just felt like it was going to be the end of the world for me. If you can weave in what we talked earlier about those job contexts that are related to them in your story. So if their strongest motive that you've identified is around affiliation, they like to belong, you might choose an example where you charted your own course and autonomously isolated other people from being part of the decision making, and how those people came back to you and say, hey, we don't feel part of this process. You might use that as an example because it will connect to their motives. It's your example, it's your life story, but it should be conveyed in a way, in language that relates to their motive. You are now controlling the frame and starting to set up the discussion relative to what's reasonable. Okay. So you're bringing to their attention, hey, we have customer service standards around how we engage our customers. I want you to talk to me about your understanding of those, and how is that working for you? How would you say that you really shine in which areas? I've had the experience that you've shined in this area, but I really want to listen to you and hear from you about how you've shined in customer service. If that's the discussion, how have you really, give me an example where you really felt like, that's it. And then I want you to tell me as honestly as you feel comfortable, do you think that's how you show up every day? Is that consistently? And if not, what interrupts you from being that consistently? Because I agree with you. You're great when it has to resolving a conflict with a valued customer that we've had over a long period of time. Is that how you consistently show up? And listen. Actively listen to what that employee is telling you. That's step one. Okay. Step two is you start to get some clarity around, does the employee understand what you expect as an outcome in that area? Again, I have listed all of the information relative to the just cause, but we're flipping that because we want to make sure the employee understands what happens if you consistently violate our customer service protocol. So you're talking to the employee here about what the expected outcomes are and what happens when those outcomes are not met. What happens that's customer centric? So do we lose business? Are we no longer able to upsell customers? Does it impact our brand where that customer goes out on social media and says some things contrary to our brand? What are the expected outcomes and what happens when we don't reach those outcomes? And you're having the employee explore. Are there any examples that you can bring forward in this conversation? How does that feel to you if a customer comes to me and says, I've had a negative interaction. Okay. Step 3 is a thorough explanation of specific events. It aligns with sufficient investigation. Okay. Well, you brought to me some events. Here are some of the events that have been brought to my attention recently. Walk me through exactly what happened and actively listen. Don't lead the employee to conclusions. Don't even tell the employee that this is unacceptable. Find out all of the facts as the employee is telling you, and begin to look at those facts as you actively listen as to whether or not you're seeing a pattern. If you're seeing a pattern, outline that to the employee and say, I'm starting to see a pattern in what you're saying here. Do you see that pattern? Okay, you said on this date, this happened with this customer. On this date, this happened with another customer. Then the same thing happened with another customer. Is 3 a pattern to you? How many would be a pattern? Get the employee explaining as thoroughly as he or she can about what are the things that are contributing to it. And where he or she gets lost or starts to close up some, say, do you think maybe this contributed? Or how does this happen? Start to bring into some of the variables that could contribute. All the while giving the employee the freedom to describe the facts and events as he or she sees them. Okay. Step 4 is the self-check. You've gone into this meeting knowing that you need to have a crucial conversation because something is cropping up that's happening differently. You have to ask yourself at specific stations throughout this conversation, am I still able to be fair and objective? Given the considerable investment that I made in this person and that the organization has made in this individual, am I giving them every possible chance to be right and succeed? Because quite often we want to point out where we're right and where employees are wrong, right? But flip it and say, am I being open to the possibility that the actions that this employee took were reasonable given the set of circumstances? And without any other detail, am I being objective and fair? You have to be objective and fair, and that's the self-check. Okay? Step 5, move through the fluff. What is the proof or fact? And is there a logical consideration as to how employee got from this behavior to this behavior? Rehearse those facts with the employee. I just want to summarize. This happened on this date. This happened on this date. This happened on this date. And we haven't quite agreed that these are connected, but we want to make sure that we've explored it sufficiently to see if there are any connections, because if there are connections, we have to make some adjustments. And I want to follow you and support you and partner with you on how we craft the adjustments that need to be made. Okay. Step 6, knowing the facts and just the facts and how they have played out. What latitude for correction can you give this employee to self-correct? What's the latitude that you can give the employee to self-correct? Okay, that's step 6. Thinking about what can you give the employee the latitude to do differently, to change, to pivot on, and allowing that employee to come to those conclusions, him or herself. Okay, what could we change that would keep our protocol integral, but allow you the flexibility to respond in a way that doesn't turn away our customers, be off-putting to them? How can we resolve issues more effectively with our customer without breaching the relationship we have with our customer? And give them latitude, because there is typically more than one way to correct the behavior. So you got to be open to the latitude. And then 7, Have you gathered enough information in this conversation to help the employee develop what I call the deliverable? It's his or her awareness statement. It is a statement, either written or verbal, that the employee says to you, I'm aware. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'm committed to doing this. Say, okay, I need that commitment. I appreciate that commitment. When should we follow up again to monitor it? And talk to me about what kind of situations should we look at when we come back together? Should we look at your next 6 customer interactions? Should I look at the feedback data that I'm getting from customers on a survey? What can we agree to will be enough information for us to live up to what you are now saying that you are aware of. And that is the conversation that I think that you can have with an employee. That is a crucial conversation before you get to a performance improvement plan that becomes an official document in an employee's file. Or that might be the next step before there is some corrective action that might include time off or separation, depending on, how your organization works. When an employee starts to develop a pattern of behavior or starts to miss deadlines, are you having a conversation with that employee, a crucial conversation with that employee, that you're going along the steps? Because if it progresses, you've already built in that structure enough data that says that if I move forward, I have enough to support a just cause action, or I don't have enough, and this should not be the next step that I take. But considering the amount of investments that organizations make into their employees, you would be doing yourself a disservice to just move to a performance improvement plan without some structure for your crucial conversations that you have with employees. And this is but one way that you can structure crucial conversations with employees so that you bring them into a new awareness about their behaviors and their work ethic or their deliverables as it relates to products and or services. Ultimately, you want the employee to feel that you're willing to be as vulnerable with them as you want them to be with you. And in building this kind of rapport with that employee, you get to serve as both coach and mentor because you're removing the titles. You're allowing the employee to come to conclusions. You're allowing the employee to move through options and choose the best option. And you're just facilitating the discussion as a sounding board that's reflecting back to this employee how he or she could become more aware of patterns that are starting to occur. Of course, in this conversation, the employee could share with you, I'm going through a divorce. I had to move out of my home because of foreclosure. I moved back in with my parents. I've had a death in the family. There could be any number of things happening in the life of an employee that you're not aware of that will come up in these conversations as points of discussion, and allow that employee to talk through them. How do you think that the death of your parent is impacting your ability to meet deadlines? And what can we do to pivot and adjust? And intersperse in that conversation where you have helped other employees with similar situations, where you've navigated similar situations, always bringing the employee back to the responsibility of making a choice of how you move forward and become most successful in meeting what the level set expectations are. It's a crucial conversation to have. And from my experience of over 25 years, many leaders, managers, supervisors, team leads, shift leads don't want to have them. But if you make the crucial conversation about an engagement of transparency and vulnerability between two adults, in which you demonstrate that you're fully invested in the success of the other person without regard to position and title, you will find that employees will open up more and respond more from the center of who they are, maybe they're telling you that there's something wrong in the process or something that they don't agree with in the process. And there might have to be some reconciling there about the process. But whatever that is, you got to have that in that crucial conversation with the employee to ensure that the employee feels comfortable enough to be vulnerable with you. Maybe the employee doesn't agree with how you lead, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're going to change your style. It does mean that you're going to be aware that a part of your style may not be as effective with this employee. And so, what's the conversation around being able to level set expectations around where your leadership style just doesn't work for me? You may be able to say to the employee, I am the leader I am, and I'm always open to evolving, but how can we make it work for you, seeing that I'm not going to change today in my style? I'm going to learn how to pivot, but how can we make it work for you and still accomplish what we level set here? It's a crucial conversation that you have to have. And the more that you practice it and the more that you have it away from hurt feelings and bruised egos, the more effective it will be. And a lot of times the conversation is not held up front, which is what Radical Candor calls ruinous empathy. When you let things slide and let things slide and let things slide and make excuses instead of having the conversation where you challenge directly and care personally. If you have it away from the feelings of it, when you got that customer who's saying, I'm going to leave the organization because of my interactions with Marcus, I'm not going to be in this I'm not going to do business with you, and you're all flustered and upset, then you go to Marcus and you're flustered and upset, and the crucial conversation becomes a venting session of sorts where you're saying, just get it together, right? You want to practice having these conversations before you get to a point where you feel like you have to take action. You do have to take action. And it is a corrective coaching, advising, and mentoring crucial conversation, 7 steps in which you can do it to effectively bring awareness to an employee and give him or her options to pivot and make some changes. And if you can get an employee to pivot and make those changes, your organization will be all the better for it. That employee will be invested in meeting the demands of your high excellence, and he or she will inspect their own work, their own behaviors to begin to self-correct to meet what you demand. And that's why I say the supervisor, manager, frontline leader has to evolve from you can expect what you inspect. That's a start. But you must evolve to you can expect what you demand by setting a performance and transparent culture that has an aspect of coaching and crucial conversations to bring light and bring resource to that employee who is not meeting that expectation. We often think of meeting expectations in the term of either you're going to correct it, 3 steps you're out. When you make a significant investment in an employee, you don't want a 3 steps you're out. Before you get through those steps, you want to have a crucial conversation, which may shift the awareness for that employee and cause him or her to change his or her behavior. If you're interested in getting a copy of these 7 steps, you can inbox me on any of these platforms, and we'll make sure you have the copy, which will have the actual questions in them that you should ask during these 7 steps of crucial conversation. The document that I just showed has the questions relative to whether or not you should be issuing discipline and whether you've met the rung of just cause for each of those 7. We use those 7 standards or tests of just cause to create 7 steps to a crucial conversation so that you begin your documentation and you begin to shape your discussions that meet those standards before you ever have to get to issuing any type of discipline or corrective action. So again, this is before a performance improvement plan is crafted. This is informal. It is only supervisory notes in your supervisory files, not in the file of the employee, and it is not when you're ready to mete out discipline. By the time you're ready to mete out discipline, you are assured that the employee understands that the rule is reasonable, understands, meaning it's not going to put him or her at a safety risk because they don't know how to perform it or there's some safety aspect of it. He or she understands what happens if you continue to consistently violate this rule, and all of the other 5 of the 7 standards or tests of just cause. Before you get there, you create an environment where coaching is the order of the day, mentoring is an option, and the employee is empowered to choose options between those two. I hope that you will share this content. I know it's for those that are on Facebook. It's really geared toward leaders of organizations, but employees can benefit from it as well if you're thinking along these lines to ensure that you're listening to what your leaders are telling you. Are you listening? Are they bringing to your attention some issue or behavior that they say has occurred multiple times? Because what they are saying to you is that there is something that is going awry and we need to correct it. Now, maybe they aren't directly challenging you. Maybe they're just casually mentioning it to you, but don't take it casually. Start to ask them questions about let's level set. What's your expectation in this? And here's why that was or wasn't met, so that you start to have these conversations from an employee standpoint. But really, it is the employer standpoint, leaders and frontline supervisors, managers, and even division leaders, even C-suite. When you're having conversations, before pull out the emotion of the ego bruise. They're defying my authority, because that can happen. They are not demonstrating consistently the results that I need. That can happen. It's important that you have a crucial conversation with that employee so that he or she understands and becomes aware that there needs to be a performance, a behavior modification, and maybe a change of their perception about their performance, because they may be totally oblivious. No employee should ever be brought into a corrective action meeting, performance improvement meeting, a disciplinary action meeting without having already had the benefit of these discussions. I want to again thank you for joining us on Passion Friday. If this has been helpful for you, I hope that you will click share and share this content widely. If you're interested in the document, inbox me on any of the platforms. Join me tomorrow at 3:00 p.m. That's right, on Saturday. Saturday closes out our 5-day challenge. We've been doing it for the last 3 weeks. This is week 3. And we start our challenge on Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And each day we're giving a moment of gratefulness that we are reflecting upon. And this week we were reflecting on relationships. You can look on my page across all platforms and see who was my person, what relationship am I grateful for this week. And I hope that you will join the challenge by making your own post of who you're grateful for, what relationships you're grateful for this week, and including the hashtag gratefulness challenge so that we can track with you. Tomorrow, I will open the mic so that you can share. What have you shared and reflected on this week about gratefulness, and how has that reflection impacted your day, your moment, your journey? We're interested to know, because we believe that gratefulness and grateful living can transform your life. Join us tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here as we reflect on moments of gratefulness in relationships. I'm Marcus R. Holmes, the HR Passion Guy. Have a grateful afternoon, and we'll see you tomorrow on whatever platform you're on.